Dr. Jazz. Dr. Jazz.
Hey, my pleasure.
And you know, I have you on so many records, and I followed you for such a long time. I mean, not as a side collaborator, but also as a leader and with Quest and everything. And
yeah, I've got about 33
composer.
of my own.
I know.
I actually have more than most of my heroes. I mean, you know, like Paul Chambers had what, 5 or 6 records? Maybe.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Well, it was a different time. I mean, everybody's got 30 records, huh?
Yeah, it's different. But I wanted to ask you, like, I listened to the last one, Lucky Sunday, for Steeplechase, and you know, it's a beautiful band you made, and younger musicians, and you wrote some amazing tunes and beautiful.
I've always written tunes since I was a
I know.
child. I mean, I used to write tunes when I was a little kid. On the, you know, I had accordion, then I had the piano. I mean, I'm really a frustrated, maybe a latent piano player. I mean, I started on the accordion because I grew up in New Haven and everybody was Italian, and there's nothing but accordion music. So I learned O Solo Mio and Lady of Spain with the bellow shake. And then I got to high school, and they said, well, you're going to be in a band, but you're not playing that. You'll play the bass, and you'll take typing because the creative writing course you wanted meets when the band meets, and you will thank us. So I learned how to play the bass and learned how to type in high school, and the 2 things that I do every day ever since.
Sure.
and then I got into the piano, of course, and I always started writing tunes, and you know, and I still do. I mean,
you write on piano like always, or?
I mean, yeah, I've been writing since I was about 15 years old.
Yeah.
And I've recorded some of the tunes. Some of the melodies I wrote back then were pretty cool. I mean, I didn't know anything about harmony or form or how to develop anything, but I since have gotten, you know, and I write in so many different venues, but genres. I mean, I don't just write bebop. I mean, people write. A lot of people write that everything kind of sounds the same. I mean, I've got some really silly, stupid things and some stuff that nobody can play. It's so hard. And then now I'm writing, like, you know, really simple, little memorable melodies. And
that's what I wanted to ask you.
And I'm writing shorter and easier and more accessible tunes.
Like the waves on the last one. And what's, you know, it's like so beautiful. It's really like all about the melody when I think about it. Or what
do you think? Which one are you referring to?
The waves.
The wave.
Yeah.
Oh, that's Rob Bloch's tune.
Oh, really? It's such a beautiful melody.
Yeah, it's a beautiful tune.
It's such a beautiful melody.
It's on my record, but I mean, it was his tune. Wave is nice. I mean, I wrote a couple of them. We all contributed. I mean,
what's due is yours, right?
It was my CD. It was called.
No. I know, but the tune "What's Due" it's yours, right?
Oh yeah, What's Due?
Yeah, it's a nice one.
And Anthony Ferrara wrote it, like a deep sea, like urban planning or some stupid thing like that. And he wanted me to play on it. He said, "It's a C major chord. You play on it." I said, "I have nothing to say on the C major chord. You play on it." I mean, it was, and then he got a date of his own, which he's just done with Gary Versace.
Oh, really? Wow.
Jay Anderson and Billy Drummond.
Oh.
And I kind of helped him with the tunes. I mean, I couldn't have made any sense out of them, but Gary did a marvelous job. I mean, he made that stuff work. I mean, I just looked at it and said, I don't know, man. These chords don't mean anything to me. I don't know. I don't get it. You know, I don't know. I hear stuff. I mean, I hear like corny melodies and, you know, pornographic lyrics. You know? I mean, yeah, I don't know where it comes from. It's just like, yes, Quincy Jones said that they asked him where his songs come, and he said they come from God.
Now, but you wrote so much beautiful stuff. Like there's this ballad you wrote, "Broken Dreams," years ago, right?
Yeah,
with Abercrombie.
Yeah, that's what Abercrombie. That's my first record.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, that's nice. I mean, it was about the earthquake in San Francisco. My daughter was at Candlestick Park watching a baseball game or something. It was a World Series, I think, and the bridges were collapsing, and that was a little scary.
But what's your process otherwise? Like when composing, you start with a melody with chords, with a bass line even, or like how
Well,
do you
I
usually
mean,
start?
it could start with anything, but I remember Eddie Miller, my teacher in college. One of my teachers, he was a jazz trombone player, and he taught theory. I'd go to his house on weekends, and he would teach me like the right changes to I remember April and all the tunes,
Yeah.
and show me the substitute and the whole theory about substitution. Because I wasn't getting that at Hart from like from Mariocious or one of those people. He said, if you write to him, make sure you have a good melody. And I do have a good melodic sense. I mean, I think I play more melodically than a lot of bass players who think they don't think melodically. They've never played a melodic instrument.
Mm-hmm.
I'm more influenced by horn players. I mean, like Miles and Train, Sonny Rollins, Chet. I mean, everybody, vocals, Frank Sinatra.
Sure. Yeah.
I mean, a lot of people they play a bass solo. It sounds like, I mean, it's tricky. And it's a lot of stuff that they practice, but it's not necessarily like Red Mitchell.
Melody, Red Mitchell, yeah.
Main influence as far as some solos. I mean, he made me cry when I first heard him.
You wrote a tune, Waiting on Red. You didn't
Waiting
write
on
it?
Red. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he used to live in my apartment when he came to New York. He used to,
seriously?
He sublet my place, and I got to know him very well. And I mean, his solos were like Billie Holiday singing. I mean, they slid into notes, and and he was singing while he was playing it too.
Yeah.
And he wrote songs, he wrote lyrics, so I mean, he was all about melody.
Yeah.
And part of me is like directly out of that, more so than anybody. I mean, I'm influenced by Scott LaFaro and Gary Peacock and George Mraz and you name it, Jocko. I mean, I'm Mono Neon is my new hero.
Who?
Are you hip? Mono Neon? Are you hip to Mono Neon?
Don't know.
Oh, you must.
Really?
You must go on YouTube and Google Mono Neon. I mean, he's this LA bass player. I mean,
really?
He's a trip and a half. I mean, he's got the most amazing hands. He played with Prince.
Oh, okay, cool. I'll check it out.
And he wears all these outrageous outfits, and he's got hands.
Oh, I see. Okay,
he plays a left-handed upside down 5-string bass. He sits on his couch, expressionless, without moving, playing more stuff than I've ever heard anybody play. But his songs are ridiculous. I mean, he writes these songs. I think his new album is called "Fart When You Pee." That's the title of his record. That's actually the title. Wow. And the interviews with him are like amazing because he doesn't sound like, he said, I don't know why you ask me all these hard questions, man. I just play. I don't know what I'm doing, Just don't bother me with these questions. I mean, he doesn't, it's, but his stuff. And I tell my students, look at his hands. I mean, watch how calm he is. Just imitate what you see, never mind what he says,
Yeah,
like
sure.
They say, follow what they do, don't listen to what they say. Yeah. It goes across the board.
Yeah, definitely.
So anyway, I don't know. I'm influenced. I'm still like an open sore. I mean, I'm a sponge. I'm in the moment, and whatever affects me, and stuff just comes out in different ways. Yeah, I'll get an idea. I might just hear a sound, and it will trigger some. I mean, I remember the first time I had a synthesizer. I was in somebody's apartment in France, and they had a little keyboard. I'd never had one before. I was impressed, and I got this thing, something SUV South, and it reminded me of Pat Metheny's records. So I wrote this thing called Milk and Cookies because I always thought of Pat Metheny and those guys as kind of like milk and cookies instead of heroin and pills kind of guys,
Yeah, sure.
And it sounded like that. It was all this like modern kind of stuff, and then I write a tune like I wrote for Walter Davis. It's like kind of a bebop tune, but I've never wanted to write in that AABA, 32 bar, like the song box. I've always tried. I like, Wayne Shorter and Kenny Wheeler's writing. I mean, it's through composed, and I mean, a simple melody that they developed and with amazing chords underneath it that you would never expect. Yeah. Stuff like that.
Yeah, all these guys, or John Abercrombie.
And I played with Liebman and Byrack. I mean, their stuff is like, I mean, it's Schoenberg or Berg or something. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I hear it. I don't really understand. They say, "Oh, you really understand?" I said, "Well, I'm just playing what I hear, like I do anyway."
Yeah, that's beautiful.
That's like 3 tries over a bass note. I mean, just that's like 10 notes. There's only 2 left that aren't in the chord. What difference does it make what notes I play?
Oh, if you put it like that, yeah.
Well, I mean, I have some charts by Byrak, and it's like 3 triads over a bass note.
Oh man,
That's 10 notes.
Yeah,
there's only
sure.
12.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, if you play it the way he wrote it, I mean, if you play like those 10 notes, you get the sound. But once you play on it, it's like, there are only 2 wrong notes. So, gee, just go for it. I mean, I don't get too technically bogged down with explaining things. Actually, I've been getting away from that. I'm saying, it doesn't have to make sense.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, like free music. I mean, what is
If
this
it sounds
supposed to
good,
be?
yeah.
I heard this piano player in the Catskills when I was like 19, and he was playing. Might have been Paul Bley, or who knows.
Oh, wow.
And he was playing in this lounge, and he was just making stuff up. And he looked up to me. He said, "Why not?" And I never forgot that, because he was just playing. I mean, he wasn't playing a form. He wasn't playing like a song.
Yeah.
So that's not kind of how I feel about it. It's really more of a feeling than a thought.
Yeah, but as long as it sounds good.
Yeah, and I studied with Hall Overton. And I asked him, I brought him some of my writing, and my lesson was between Jim Hall and Al Cohn. And I showed him my writing. He said, "Well, do you like it?" And I said, "Yeah." He said, "Well, if you like it, someone else will like it. Don't worry about that. Just write."
Yeah,
that's what I learned from him.
Wow, that's amazing.
He didn't tell me, "Well, you shouldn't do this. You should do that." He studied with like Herb Pomeroy at Berkeley, and they say, "Oh, you can't use flat nines." Then he talked to Mike Gibbs, and he said, "Oh, my whole concept is based on flat nines. What are you talking about?"
Exactly.
I did a record with Eero Koivisto, and we did one of my tunes. Yeah, and we did one of my tunes, and I had this real dissonant 3-horn voicing. And he said, "Oh, you can't do that." And it had like a flat 6 and a flat 9 in it, and he made it like a major 9th. He made it into a vanilla ice cream sandwich,
Oh man,
it killed the whole thing. I mean, and there it is.
Sure.
Like dissonance is part of Dave Liebman. You can't get enough.
Yeah,
dissonance.
Sure. I love
more.
that.
It's more dissonant. More. All the students say, "Man, this is so ugly. I can't stand it." But he wants more dissonance.
Yeah,
it's all a matter of personal taste, I guess. It comes down to whatever floats your boat.
Definitely, yeah. I mean, but can I ask you? You mentioned like Scott LaFaro and all these guys. Did you, when growing up, like in let's say your interest in jazz began like mid 50s, probably late 50s? Or...
Yeah, I started. Well, I mean, I remember it was about 1955, 56. I was playing with this group called the Kingsmen in New Haven. I mean, I got a bass. My first 2 bass lessons in high school, and this guy Bob Shaw from Yale heard about there was this kid in North Haven that played bass. Actually, I wasn't the one he thought when he came to pick me up for this gig, and he did a double take. Said, "Oh, it's too late now. I thought you were somebody else." But gigs in an hour, And there's all these guys from Yale. I mean, they're all graduated and retired lawyers and doctors now, and they turned me on to like this guy Joe Idon, who was my bass teacher, who was a protege of Hindemuth at Yale. Got me into Hart School of Music. I mean, it just changed my life. So I was about, and this tenor player, Tommy Brazil from New Haven, he was about my age. At that point, he could play like Johnny Griffin and Coltrane. I've been listening to Art Van Dam, and like it was like George Shearing with accordion.
Yeah.
It was nice music, but it was like the Art Linkletter show. It was like West Coast cool, kind of like, it wasn't Blue Train. When I heard Blue Train, I mean, the hairs on the back of my neck stood up like, oh my God. And I knew from that moment on, that's where I was going. I mean, that's the music. And I just kept following that path.
Yeah.
And I'm still like, I'm still hearing people who blow me away.
Sure.
And like Mono Neon, I mean, he's like my new hero. I don't like his writing, but I mean, I sure can play the bass.
Yeah. Definitely.
If I had chops like that, I would be very happy.
Oh, come on, man.
This guy,
I know, but you sound killing always when I hear you.
Well, I mean, I don't think about chops in terms of like, I hear a lot of bass solos and I hear people going,
sure.
And I don't even think about those things. I mean, I could probably do it if I practiced it all day long, but I mean, those are not the kind of ideas that come to my head.
Yeah, sure. It's a different concept. Yeah.
I mean, as Jack DeJohnette said about Joe Henderson, he said when he does that, he doesn't have an idea, so he just plays the stuff he practiced, which we all do. We all have our
in the end, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, But I mean, I'm more melodic. I mean, that's what I learned from Red Mitchell. Is it's about singing and a real idea, something that you can walk away with and remember.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't remember a lot of like diminished licks. I mean, I don't walk around the park singing like
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, some people probably do.
Sure. No, but I wanted to ask you about all these guys. Did you ever see like Scott LaFaro live also on the concerts?
Yes.
All these guys, really?
Yeah, I saw him at Birdland with Bill Evans opposite Count Basie.
Oh,
and of
man.
course, I mean, at Birdland that night in particular, most people had come to see Count Basie. And there was all these black guys at the bar, and they were saying, somebody said, this kid is faster than Mingus. And I said, oh, no way, nobody's faster than Mingus. But you couldn't really hear them over the crowd because they were waiting for Count Basie and they were talking. And I could see them, but I never really heard them. When I would go to the Vanguard here, Miles with Paul Chambers, and you really couldn't hear them. I'd go see Steve Swallow with the half note with Art Farmer and Jim Hall. And you couldn't really hear them. And nobody had an amp in those days.
Sure.
And I played for 20 years without an amp until 1970.
Wow, really?
And the first time I heard myself, now all these records are coming out from 1967 with Charles Lloyd, Wes Montgomery.
Yeah.
And it's the first time I ever heard myself.
Wow.
And wow, I didn't know I played that. I mean, wow, oh, that was good, man. That was me. No kidding. I mean, I had no idea. I mean, I make records now that, I mean, try to find the bass on Compassion, Dave Liebman, Joe Lovano. Try to find the bass. It just came out. It's gone. They weren't listening for it,
Wow.
But this 1967 at Montreux, I mean, geez. I had this Bernadelle. Why did I sell that bass? Why? Because I couldn't hear it.
Yeah.
I wanted to get a Canon. I didn't want a bass with a nice tone. I wanted something I could hear.
Yeah. That's so weird.
The music was fine, but I mean, I've never heard myself,
Wow.
And John Scofield said he never really heard me till I got this Fender jazz bass. Which is behind on the wall.
Yeah, I see it there. Yeah.
And I said, jazz bass on the wall.
Oh yeah.
62 fretless. I took the frets out.
Yeah, I see. Wow.
We got it from Peter Warren for like his rent about 30 years ago. He couldn't pay the rent. It's probably worth $15,000 now, or something like that. I'm never selling it though.
No, sure. It's beautiful. Yeah, but we're talking. How was it like for you? Okay, you started listening to all these jazz guys, right? And I guess learning licks and tunes. And but how did you get involved in the scene, like regarding the New York scene, early '60s or '63, '62? How was that like for you? This process?
Well, I played. I listened a lot because there were no books. I listened to records, and I would turn my stereo system on in my room, close the door, and I would stand there and play along with Miles. I mean, especially working, cooking, steaming, relaxing. Miles 56. I mean, Blue Train, not Blue Train so much, but the quintet with Train, Red Garland. I mean, I got Paul Chambers. My friend said, "Listen to 4 on Working."
Yeah,
said, that's how you play the quarter note. I mean, boom, the ties just rolling.
It's amazing.
I mean, he set the standard. He was 19 and did all those records in 1 week. And the sound, I just sort of copped the feel there. I mean, I wasn't about transcribing and playing his solos. I mean, I never thought of that. Nobody ever suggested that because they didn't have any teachers.
Sure.
I just kind of got it through listening, and my students today, most of them haven't listened to much. And I try to tell them something. Well, have you heard so-and-so? No. I said, well, what do you want me to do for next week? Well, I kind of just told you, have you listened to,
Yeah.
And it goes, I said, well, it's not high school anymore. I don't give you an assignment, reach page 7 to 9. We'll have a quiz on Friday. You tell them something and they don't write it down. Some people do. Some people even record the lessons. And like 20 years later, they contact me and say, man, I didn't realize what you had told me. And I just realized that you told me something that I didn't do. And I just did it. And wow,
It's funny. Like if you're a student, I had a couple of lessons with Scofield. And one of the first lessons he said was like, okay, think like a saxophone player. And it stuck with me like forever.
Who was that?
John Scofield.
Oh, John Scofield. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and the first time we played, that's what he said. Man, Samo, think like a saxophone player. And it stuck with me. Even when I teach now, it's like, well, breathe, make phrases. Come on.
Yeah, I mean, nobody's no more organic than Sco. I mean, he's BB King, man. He's got the best time in the toughest surge. I mean, when he plays, it's just an urgency.
Yeah,
incredible. To what he plays. Yeah, and he's refined it. I mean, he's on my first record called Descendants.
I know. I love
you heard that.
I have that.
That's my first record. I did it in Jimmy Madison's studio on his Scully 8-track in like '78.
Yeah.
And he and Tom Harrell, I mean, nobody knew them yet. I mean, they were just like, and I was like hiring those guys to play little gigs that I had. Now they're like superstars, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, Sco told me the first time he ever heard me was when I played this Fender fretless bass. He said, well, it's the first time I actually heard you. I mean, physically. Because that sound, when I heard Jocko, Bobby Clumby takes credit for discovering Jocko, but it was the quarter that I dropped in this machine in Fort Lauderdale, Joe Namath's Bachelor's 3, when I heard him with Wayne Cochran and C.C. Ryder. I said, what is that? I had to know. And I asked the bartender, I said, who's the bass player in the record? He said, oh, man, don't talk to me about it. He's an asshole. Lives around the corner. His name is Jocko. So I got the quarter out and I played it for Columbia, and he turned purple. I knew I was going to get fired, and I did. And he made that record. But he says he went out in the park and he met this beautiful woman. And I said, gee, are you married? As if he would be, And she said, oh, yes, I'm married to the most famous and most brilliant bass player in the whole world, the greatest in the world. That's bullshit. Your bass player turned you on to him and you fired him to get him. Bottom line. I mean, I don't take credit for Jocko. He would have been, I mean, as Will Lee said, they'll be talking about him in 200 years.
Yeah.
I mean, what if I knew him and hung out with him, and he was, I mean, a phenomenal human being. I mean, generous, articulate, it was a great athlete. He had hands and very generous with his helping people, talking to people, and then completely insane on the other side. And just, I mean, where it came from, where he got what he got, who knows? But I've never known anybody like him,
Did you guys ever play together, like jam together?
To have known him. Huh?
Did you guys ever jam together, or?
Yeah, once.
Oh, really?
Bobby Clumby called me up. I mean, I guess he was setting me up for firing me because he had Jocko in his living room. He said, why don't you come over and hang out with Jocko? And I went over, and Jocko gave me a clinic. He sat in Bobby's kitchen playing a Fender fretless jazz bass with no amp. And he said, this is an acoustic instrument.
Wow. And
he filled the room with the sound from, that piece of wood, no amp. And then he showed me some stuff that he practiced. Then we went out and played basketball. I mean, he could jump over the backstop. I mean, he was like the freak, he loved to play basketball. And I've seen interviews he did with like Jerry Jamont, just brilliant. Brilliant. And I went to see his band, and he would start a tune, get 3-4 bars into it, and stop. No, let's play this one. Then they'd get 3 or 4 bars into the next one. Say, no, let's play this one. This was at the Blue Note.
Oh man.
Yeah, and the guys in the band were going like, oh my God, he's having one of his bipolar moments,
Yeah.
Yeah, but it was, I mean, it was great to know him, and he affected me musically like very few people have.
Sure. Yeah.
I mean, I'm just the sum of my parts. I mean, I'm still like, jangling with like double Scorpio, like curiosity, and they say it's amazing I have any positive traits whatsoever. I do my horoscope.
Yeah.
But I'm still like, I still feel like I'm about 19, and I'm trying to, in search of the miraculous. I'm always looking for what it could possibly be, what comes next.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not trying to uphold the bebop tradition or something, or don't feel I have to wear a suit because Chet Baker did, or
sure.
I mean, I just went down to Argentina with some people who fired me because I wasn't wearing a suit, and we're playing in a pasture on a hot summer day. They were incensed that I didn't wear a suit. I mean, please.
Yeah, sure. No, but Ron, I wanted to ask you. You mentioned Paul Chambers, right? I mean, I know you kind of came after Paul in Wynton Kelly's trio, right?
Yeah, well, I knew Paul. I mean, I played.
Did you guys hung out like also together, or how was he like?
I played a gig at the Consulate Hotel for like 6 weeks, 6 nights a week. I was playing with Mike Longo. He was playing with Russ Tompkins trio, 2 trios. in this kind of mafia bar at the Hotel Consulate. And I had these, like, these guys, the mafia guys.
Yeah.
I mean, keep playing. It's not 3 o'clock yet. There's nobody in the room all night long. And we had to play until 3 o'clock.
Wow.
And we each played 2 sets a night, I think. And I tried to talk to Paul. And I went up to him and I said, Paul, name's Ron. I love your playing, man. He said, oh, no, you're the cat. You're the cat. And we never spoke again.
Oh, man. Come on.
He wouldn't talk to me. I never spoke another word. That was like first night. And we spent like 6 weeks, like, avoiding each other. I heard him play a little bit, but he didn't want to know. He didn't. He was dying, actually. I think he's very depressed and probably very sick.
Yeah.
But I wanted to pay my respects to him because to me he was God.
Yeah. Such a player.
Probably more than anyone, Paul Chambers, because of his time. The way he played the quarter note, and it's all, and everything was accurate.
Yeah.
And he played with the bow. And also I like the music he played.
Yeah,
I grew up listening
his
to
records.
Ray Brown and other people,
Awesome.
Leroy Brillinger,
Yep.
Wilbur Ware. The list goes on and on. I've heard just about everybody, Slam Stewart. But the music that he played, he's playing with Miles. So it's usually the music that gets my attention.
Yeah.
I listen to new records now with people. We're talking about Anthony Ferrara's new record. His writing, he's a young guy, and his writing doesn't really suggest anything to me, and I didn't feel that it suggested a lot to the people he's playing with. And I've heard some other new records that people give me, and they're good enough musicians to make something happen, but it's not inspiring sometimes. Like great writing, I think, is the key. I played with Blood, Sweat, and Tears.
Yeah, sure.
And they were not pop writers. They were a bunch of guys like me, wannabe jazz musicians that took a gig playing in an eclectic band that had a hit record.
Yeah.
And we played and we wrote what we wrote. But this guy Gercio that produced the first Blood, Sweat, and Tears record, when they fired him, went out and formed this little band called Chicago. Have you heard of them?
Oh, yeah.
Those are songwriters. They have platinum records. They write. My lyrics are either humorous or pornographic or both. But these guys are real songwriters.
Yeah, they had some.
And their songs are like people walk down the street singing their songs, And Blood, Sweat, and Tears. We did some nice. It was more of an eclectic band, different styles. I got a Grammy nomination for an instrumental I wrote, and my other instrumental was the title tune for Mirror Image, the first record I was on.
Yeah.
But it was like jazz band, playing their version of pop music, and it never really, after the first record, there was never, the second record sold 5 million, the next record sold 250,000. Where did those 475,000 people, a million?
Yeah. That's
where did they go? They weren't interested in the third record.
Yeah.
And then time I was with them, the records were selling 90,000, which is nothing.
Yeah, sure.
I'm on a Michelle Petrucci-Gianni record that sold 100,000 records.
Yeah.
The Cold Blues, you know that one?
Which one?
Cold Blues.
No.
It's a duo, me and Michelle Petrucci-Gianni. It's hard for me to say.
Really?
Duo on Owl. It's on Owl.
I have to check it out. Oh yeah.
It's
okay.
Jean-Jacques Pousseau's label in France.
The French
beautiful
label.
duo album. We were friends. He was a neighbor of mine.
Oh wow.
And I met at the Vanguard, and we played on over to his house and played with him all the time. So we went into Fred Hirsch's studio and made this record on a freezing February night.
Oh man.
And I said, let's play some Cold Blues. I'm freezing. And it's the title tune.
Well, I have to check it out. Okay. Don't know.
Oh, that's one of the records I'm most proud of. And it sold well over 100,000 units.
Wow,
by
that's
now.
A lot.
I'm not on any other records that I know of.
Yeah.
My new record is like 196 with an anchor on Billboard.
Yeah. Okay. Come on. That's something. No, but
I made that up. Don't believe everything I say.
No, but come on, you're on so many incredible records, and I just wanted to ask you because of Paul Chambers. Because I listened today to Wynton Kelly's that one with George Coleman live at the Left Bank.
Left Bank, yeah.
Man, you play Unit 7. It starts this album, and it's the most swinging version ever I've heard. You guys are like Jimmy Cobb, and you are, it's just like. How was it for you to play with those guys?
The time,
Yeah, the
I
time.
mean, nobody ever have. I mean, nobody swung like Wynton and Jimmy.
Yeah.
I mean, I got that gig was I was playing with Maynard Ferguson, big band in Atlantic City, opening for Wes Montgomery with the Wynton Kelly Trio.
Oh wow.
And Paul Chambers didn't show up. And these three guys, Jimmy, Wes, and Wynton, are on the bandstand in their tuxedos. And we're all, of course, all the Maynard's bands waiting in this huge club, waiting to hear these guys.
Man, okay.
And all of a sudden, there's like Jimmy Cobb hits a few rim shots, and he said, "Get up here! You got to play with us." It wasn't a request. I mean, get up here! You've got to play with us. I got up there. He said, "Paul didn't make it, man. You got to play with us." And he was hurt, because he knew that Paul was going down, and so I played with him. And Wynton and Wes turned around, looked at each other, and they were like giggling. I mean, because I went in there and said, "Yeah, cool, and here it comes." I mean, yeah. I mean, it was like I played with them all my life.
That's beautiful. Yeah.
I mean, because I grew up on Paul Chambers, and that's something that was just natural to me.
You knew the tunes and everything already?
Well, it was just
I
knew the tunes, and I knew what to do, and I did it. And a month later, I was playing opposite them. Maynard had broken down to a sextet. We were playing at the Village Gate, opposite Wes and Wynton, and Ron Carter was playing with him, and he was late, and they had to play. And I just played with Maynard, and Wynton said, Ron's doing a record date, and it went overtime, and it pays more than this gig, so can you play the first set? I said, "Oh, sure." So I played with him. The next day, Ron Carter called me and he said, "Well, I'm still doing that record date, and it's going to go over again tonight. I'll give you $20 if you play the first set." I don't know if I ever got the $20, but I had played with Wynton, Wes, and Jimmy 3 hours at that point.
Wow.
And one day, a hot summer day, I got a phone call from Wynton. He said, "We're going to the West Coast for 9 weeks. Would you like to go?"
Wow.
I said, "Let me think about it." Okay, I thought about it. Yes, sir. And I spent 9 glorious weeks with
9 weeks, man. That's long.
We did a tour. It was nice, and then it was recorded. And I mean, one of the first gigs was at the Penthouse in Seattle.
Yeah.
And Resonance Records just released it a couple of years ago as an LP and a CD, and it's really nice. I mean, so almost a year to the day after the live at the Smoking at the Half Note with Paul.
Yeah.
And then Wes and Wynton broke up. They had different managers, and so Wes's manager said, "You don't need these guys. You're the star." And Wynton ended up playing like solo piano or little clubs in Brooklyn and stuff, and then he passed.
Yeah.
But I mean, the joy of playing that music. I mean, it wasn't complicated. It wasn't
But it was swinging. It was amazing.
And it's the way they played the time. I think the rhythm is the most important aspect. I mean, the feel, the expression. I have a bass student right now who can play anything, but he doesn't have any expression. And I'm saying, well, what you do is really good. I mean, wow, you really can. I said, but it's not enough. I mean, you have to sell it. When I played with Blood, Sweat, and Tears, I didn't just stand there like I was waiting for a bus. I'm on stage with a rock band.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to act the part. I mean, or you should.
Sure.
Act like you're enjoying yourself, at least. And I don't have a hard time enjoying myself.
No,
that's my priority.
But it's true. Like I listened to those records, and like you said, the time, especially you and Jimmy, especially. I mean, Wynton. I always loved Wynton. With Miles and everything, with Wes, like.
Oh yeah.
But
well, Wynton had the time.
So swinging, man.
The time was just like it was so strong.
Yeah.
And it was so accessible. I mean, it was just so musical and
accessible,
buoyant.
That's a good.
I mean, it was stiff. I mean, Jimmy Cobb was like, I mean, there wasn't a way I could play like Scott LaFaro with that band.
Yeah,
I couldn't break up the time.
Sure.
I couldn't do anything like that. I mean, I had to be PC.
Sure.
So I put that hat on, boom, So that's what I try to do. I mean, I try to play the music, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And find a way to play with what's going on instead of like having an agenda, like you have to wear a suit, and you got to make this expression and you got to play these notes. I mean, I can't dance to that puppy.
Yeah. Like, but we're talking about like, I don't know, 65, 67. Did you ever
Yeah.
also hung out with Miles and those guys, like, or jam with them or play with them, or?
Well, I met Miles at the Vanguard. I mean, at the Village Gate, I was playing with Charles Lloyd opposite Miles. That's another time. And Jack and Tony Williams were into this battle of the drums. I mean, Jack was overplaying massively because he was trying to compete with Tony. He thought, So I got mad. I had this argument with Jack. I said, "Man, you play so loud, I can't even hear myself think." I couldn't hear Keith. I couldn't hear Charles. I couldn't hear myself. But Miles came up to me in the band room and he said, "You really know how to play the bass." I said, I always thought Miles Davis was this dangerous guy that might punch people. And he said, "Well, I got to think about bass players." And he started talking about Gary Peacock and how he was trying to get him to play with him and he should be playing with somebody. Yeah. And it was wonderful,
Wow.
And then I got the gig. I got a call like right after that from Herbie Hancock at 8:00 on a Saturday night to play with Miles at the Village Vanguard. Ron had left the band. And I guess the whole week they were playing. Miles was not present the whole week. It was the 70s or late 60s. He was having problems. I mean, he wasn't playing the week. It was the Miles Davis sextet. It was Joe Henderson, Wayne Shorter, Herbie, and Tony.
Wow, but still, wow.
And me on a Saturday night. They didn't say a word. They just started to play.
Wow.
I went down there at 10:00. He said, so he said it's a 10:00 hit at the Village Vanguard. Pays $37.50 union scale. I mean, okay. I don't know if I got that either, but I got to play with Miles, and he never showed up. And Herbie came up to me after the first tune break, like this. He said, "In this band, we strive for lightness." I mean, I was playing with Miles Davis. Nobody had talked to me. I didn't know what tunes they were playing. They just started to play. I didn't recognize anything. And of course, Joe and Wayne were way in front. I mean, the sound, and Tony had this big bass drum. He was playing doom, 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 like Buddy Rich on the bass drum.
Yeah.
I can't believe he's doing that with the bass drum, And Herbie's looking at me over the piano because we were right, And he came up to me after that set, like, in this band, we strive for lightness because apparently I was really like ripping the strings off the brace, probably out of like fear and like, holy cow, what am I doing? I mean, what are we playing? I have probably if I heard it would sound okay, but I mean, I had no idea what they were playing.
Man.
I think I sent Wayne Shorter a question on Facebook. He never responded. I said, "Were we actually playing tunes?" Because I asked him, like, I talked to him like that night. It's the only time I've ever had any encounter with him. And I said, I was thinking about moving out of New York. He said, you have any idea where I could go? He thought for a minute. He said, "Africa." That was all he said, and I got it. My relationship with Wayne Shorter.
Bizarre night.
Yeah, well, I mean, I got the point. White motherfucker, go to Africa, find out what it's really like.
Oh man.
I mean, I've had a good time, and you can tell. I mean, I really enjoy this. And
sure.
I mean, one thing I've had is like opportunity and experience, and to apprentice and just to be with these people.
Yeah.
Just be in the same room and play with them. And I mean, I sat in with Bill Evans one night.
Really? Oh, wow.
Played tenderly. Me and Lee Conant sat in with Arnie Weiss. Chuck Israels was playing bass, and he was a neighbor of mine. He was actually a mentor. He and Bob Shaw, Bob Cunningham, not Bob Cunningham. I can't think of his name. Anyway, he was one of the people that really got me hooked up with like Broadway shows and gigs. Got me to audition with Herbie Mann, with Stan Getz. So I mean, he asked me to sit in with Bill Evans, and Bill played tenderly, and really fast. And his head was down on the piano, and he never looked up. And I didn't really know the tune, and like Chuck's bass is sliding on the floor, and I really felt, oh my God, I'm finally playing with Bill Evans and I'm playing a tune I don't know, and it's so fast, and like, help, And I sat in with Lee Conant in 1963 at the Half Note with Lenny Tristano, Sonny Dallas.
Wow.
Said, "Yeah, I heard about you. I was in town, new guy in town, right?" So the word got out. And he said, "Yeah, I heard about it. Why don't you go up and they're going to play I Remember April. Why don't you go up and play it with them?" And so I was Sonny to that. Lee Conant, Warren Marsh, Lenny Tristano and Mousy Alexander. I played one tune.
Oh, that's beautiful.
But I mean, I guess I could put that on my resume. I don't know. I played with Lenny Tristano. That was weird. I mean, but
Yeah, he's such a
I
such a
mean, just to
composer.
have had
Man.
that experience. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
not taking credit for anything, but I mean, I was around at the very end of the jazz scene. You know, I'm born in 41, so like in 1963, when I came to New York, I caught, I mean, 63 to 69, which was like, you know, ESP Miles and the
Yeah.
Train and Bill Evans, the trio. Well, of course, Scotty had already died, but he was still
Yeah.
playing. And Stan Getz, and I played with Chet Baker
Wow, really? I didn't know.
a couple of times, you know, and I got there was so many gigs. I mean, you get tired of one band, you quit and join another. I mean, where are they now? I mean, there's nothing
Sure.
like that.
Sure.
And I have students that would like to do what I've done, and I said, "Gee, I wish you could." And I hope it gets to that point where they get to do the kind of things, have the opportunity just to play.
To play every day, and yeah.
You have to do that to get to a certain level too. If you don't, there's no other way. You're not going to learn it out of a book.
No, sure. Yeah. Sure.
But
But
you don't get it by yourself. You have to play with people. I think it's just happening right now. People are languishing
Yeah.
in this dormant state because they're starving for contact with other people and music and culture in general.
Yeah,
and
especially
just like
jazz. I mean, jazz is especially this creature.
Yeah, I mean, I
really-
just hope it comes back soon
Yeah.
before we all become like irreparable.
Yeah, sure. But no, you mentioned Lee. I just want to catch you here. Like you did that really nice record. It's you with Lee. Like
A couple.
yeah, like I have that one with Angel Eyes. That's beautiful. What
Oh,
you played
that's
there.
nice. Oh, yeah,
Oh,
Angela. Yeah, it's
man.
you. It's you or no one. Yeah, with Billy Hart.
With
and
Billy.
then,
Yeah.
And then we did another one with Bill Stewart and Kenny Werner.
Oh yeah, yeah.
It's called Zounds, Zounds.
Zounds. Yeah, Zounds. Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
that
that's
one.
on some Italian label. That's nice too. Especially taking a chance on love. I mean, Kenny went out to put some money in the meter, so we played a tune without the piano, and Lee played his solo and ended the tune. You know, I didn't play a solo, but he played a tag, and then he just ended it. And he said, "Oh, I thought you were going to play a solo." I said, "Well, I was just following you. You took the tune out. It was short enough. It actually didn't need a bass solo." But Bill Stewart, I mean, wow, he could.
Yeah, he was.
Lee just died, so I mean, I have this lamp here that my wife and I have been collecting. I just got this. They gave me this amazing 80-inch tall, like.
Yeah, you told me. Yeah, you wrote me that you got to the.
I mean, I've been like going to his apartment since he passed away with his son and his niece,
Wow.
and they're giving away like stuff. I mean, I got CDs and stuff, and I got this Bill Stewart record from 1990 with Joe Lovano, Mark Cohen. It's not even Mark Copland yet.
Oh, Copland. Yeah.
And it's wonderful. I mean, he's an amazing drummer.
Yeah.
One of my favorites.
Yeah, he's talking about swing also, right? Like such a
I
feel
mean,
touch. And
this record of mine, Never Forget, with Eddie Henderson, Vincent Herring, and Kevin Hayes, was amazing.
The
And Bill,
good
I mean, wow. I mean, the time, that was another. Kevin Hayes walked in his sight, read all my tunes.
wow.
Played the best I've ever heard him play.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's better when you're not the leader and you just walk in and you have no expectations, no prerequisites. I mean, never even seen the music. You don't even know the people. You play your best.
Yeah.
I mean,
definitely.
if you have too much time to think about things, I think, you start imitating yourself.
Yeah. So something starts like, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the second take is never quite. Paul Bley would never do a second take.
Oh,
He
man.
said, why?
Paul
It's not
Bley.
going to get any. He said it's not going to get any better. Why would we want to do it again?
How did you hook up with Paul, by the way? That trio with Barry Altschul, that's killing also.
Badari, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, and we did a quartet with John Abercrombie and another one with Michael Urbaniak. And some of that's still in the can, but Steeplechase has it all. I mean, maybe someday he'll put it out. I mean, the whole week with Abercrombie at Sweet
Really?
Basil. It was recorded.
Oh,
And Paul Bley made me a cassette of some of the free stuff we played. It wasn't like the tunes. We'd be on a record date. I mean, and he would look at he had this little, about the size of a cell phone. He had a little spiral notebook, and he'd pick a tune, and he'd go like 1, 2, F, brushes, downbeat.
wow.
And nobody knew what we were going to play. And I mean, he's playing a tune I never heard of, and he liked it. And he said, "Well, gee, I mean, I don't know that. What was that tune? And well, That's the way it was, you know.
But it's so swinging, that trio with Barry, like, you know.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's a nice. There's a what's it called? Indian Summer.
Indian
and
Summer.
There's another one.
The Nearness of You and Rejoicing.
The Nearness of You.
Yeah.
I really didn't know that tune at the time. It's because it stays around F. It never goes anywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, I was guessing the whole way. I had no
Really?
idea
Oh, wow.
about that tune. I mean, I really didn't know it. I mean, it's like playing Tenderly with Bill. I mean, it's like, oh, I know of it, but I don't really. I mean.
But it's so swinging. Also talking about like with Paul, you know, I know lots of Paul stuff, the free stuff, and he's good with free also. But like on this one, you play some waltzes, like this blue waltzers, and
yeah,
like it's incredibly like swinging. You know, he's playing so good, man.
He and Barry. I mean,
yeah.
I mean, I remember hearing Barry with him at another club that's no longer there in New York. I forgot the name of it. But they were playing like free stuff. And I heard Barry with Dave Holland and Chick Corea playing like free stuff, you know.
Circle. Yeah.
But his inside playing was like, you know, I mean, very traditional. I mean, it sounded like, you know, Philly Joe or something like that.
Yeah.
The sound, the way he tuned the drums and everything too. That was fun. And but Paul was, I mean, great. If I played really inside, he'd go out, and if I really played outside, he'd come right back in. But he also had like amazing time.
Yeah.
He really swung. And he would do things harmonically and melodically that really stepped away from the changes. I mean, I think Keith Jarrett was very influenced by him.
By Paul?
By Paul. He doesn't give them much credit for that. But I have this record, Footloose.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Swallow and
no, that's one.
Look, what's his name? Pete LaRocca. Footloose. It's
yeah,
Pete
LaRocca. Yeah, the trio.
Yeah, Savoy, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, that to me is Paul Bley. I mean, at his best. He made a lot of records.
Yeah, tons.
I mean, some of them that, you know, I mean, he told me one week, he said, I did 4 records this week, $2,500 a piece. Not a bad week, would you say? I said, well, you know. So there are a lot of records that are made, you know, that really have no reason.
Sure, to be made, yeah. But
I've read an article by Steve Gadd. Somebody asked him to record over something, and he listened to it. He said, you don't need any drums on this one. And he said, I thought I made a good musical decision. Yeah. I remember that was in Drum Magazine. I don't know why I was reading it, but I like that idea. It's like Gary Peacock said, there's nothing I want to say. There's nothing I don't want to say.
Yeah. Yeah. Makes sense.
I mean, everything doesn't have to be, you know, I mean, just because you can, you know, doesn't mean it's worthy of, I mean, recording is forever, you know, I mean, it's,
sure.
I mean, you put something out there that just doesn't really work. I mean, okay, you got paid, you know. So.
But yeah, but now I wanted to ask you also, you know, you mentioned all these swinging drummers, and the drums, how important I think are also for you, and the rhythm. And how was it to play with Jack, like with Charles, when I listened to you guys? And
Jack's like no one else. I mean, Charles Lloyd called him Mother Earth, and no, because Jack, I mean, it's all intuition. I mean, you know, he's connected on levels that most people aren't. And it's, I mean, his instinct. I mean, you feel like he's like in your brain when you play with him. I mean, and I mean, I've never heard anybody play more sensitively behind my bass solos. I mean, he's all the swing and all the energy and the conversation is there, but you know, he never covers you up until you're done. Then it's like he throws his drums down a flight of stairs, you know.
Yeah.
But he's probably as natural a drummer. And Adam Nussbaum's another one that comes to mind with that deep swing. I mean, completely different. And Billy Hart is the most colorful, perhaps. You know, I mean, especially with the cymbals.
Yeah.
And he's got. I mean, he's the 5th most recorded drummer in history. Billy Hart.
Really?
Yeah.
You played with him a lot, also, right?
There was a thing somewhere. Somebody sent me on Facebook or something, like the most recorded drummers. Shelly Manne was number 1. Billy Hart was number 6.
Wow.
Or number 5. I mean, he was right up there, like over like 600 records as a
man.
I mean, that's a lot, you know.
That's incredible.
And I've been on sessions with him where he saved the date, because his experience is so deep and playing in so many ways. Like Dave Liebman said when they had the Sax Summit with Brecker and Lovano and him. I mean, he said Billy played differently behind each one of them.
Wow.
I mean, because he had that kind of experience. I mean, and I've done all kinds of things with him. Played with Mose Allison with him.
Yeah. Wow.
Played with Lee Konitz, Quest. I mean,
yeah,
and a lot of different things. And you know, and he always knows what to do, and he always keeps it interesting. He does things that, I mean, creates colors and does things that sometimes it's not easy to play with, because I mean, you'll start a concert with, like, you'll come out and somebody's going to play through and he's going, yeah, I mean, and whoa. But then when you hear it, it's like, oh, I'm so glad he did that, because when somebody's just going,
yeah,
you know,
sure.
I mean, okay, that's the time, but I mean, that's not enough. Like the bass student I have, like, well, you're playing the notes, but now you got to play the music.
Yeah. You need some good, nice herbs. To
Yeah, I mean,
make
crazy.
it interesting.
So here I am, you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
He's not shy.
Yeah.
And he's like 80 now, you know. I will
Yeah.
be soon, but he already is. And yeah, but he's, you know, he's like Roy Haynes, like they just keep going, you know. I've never played with Roy or Sonny Rollins, two of the people I really always wanted to play with. And Miles, in person, I would love to play with those three probably more than anybody.
Wow.
And almost got to play with Miles, but he wasn't there.
Yeah, but you played with Joe, man.
Sonny Rollins and Roy Haynes would be two people high on my list of people that I highly respect and think are the greatest of all times. What
about Joe Henderson? I mean, I have that record, Live at the Lighthouse. This is one of the best Joe's records ever. Like Record and Isotope you play. I think it's like, wow. Man.
Yeah, no,
like, I mean, it's burning. Like
Joe was great. I mean, he spoke several languages. I mean, he'd call me and talk for hours. I was sitting on a train with him in Europe. I mean, playing. He said, "What do you think of this?" You know, listening to him. He says, "I like Mal Walter. I love his tunes." I said, "Everything he plays is right here. You know, he never goes over there." I mean, he was like so open and candid and curious, and you know, I mean, a delightful human being. I love Joe. Yeah. And his playing, I mean, his sound, I mean, that record he did with Wynton Kelly, I think it's 4.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah,
it's Live at the Left Bank Jazz Society, where he really stretched, like Jimmy did with the George Coleman and Wynton Kelly. Jimmy Cobb really stretched. The tunes were like a half an hour long, you know. I mean, that was some great stuff. That was some real Joe Henderson at his best, I think, because he opened up. Because near the end of his life, he made these records produced.
The Blue Note
you got Dave Holland and Scofield and like, you know, and different people, and they would play tunes that everybody knew. And Joe would play a little bit, but he didn't really, you know, I mean, what he played was fine, but he didn't get to his stuff.
Yeah.
You know, he made a record with Chris McBride. I mean, Lush Life, I think it was. I mean, produced, and it probably sold more records, but he didn't get to anything like he did at the Lighthouse.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they're playing familiar music, and it sold more. I think that's like the Grammys; they reward records that sold the most. It's about money. It's really not about patting. It's a record industry patting itself on the back for how many units they sold. I mean, that's not how I perceive music.
No, it's not like it is. Yeah. I mean, it's for everyone. But is it like, I wanted to ask you also this before, like, when was it the first time you went to Europe? With whom was that, like for a tour? When was it? Like with Charles Lloyd or even before? Like
I think it probably was with Charles Lloyd, because I never went to Europe with Wes, which was right before that. And it was like 68, something like that.
Wow. How was that experience like for you? Like going?
Well, I mean, it was interesting, you know, and I've always thought about moving to Europe, you know.
Oh, really?
Said, if you lived in Europe, you'd do great, you know. I said, but where would I go? And nobody ever offered me a gig. Well, they did offer me a gig in Munich at one point to be the house bass player. I think George Mraz took the gig. It was like $150 a week to be the house bass player at the club in Munich. What was the name of it? Played there. But I never did it, you know. And now I live in New York, and I'm, you know, it is what it is.
Oh man, come on.
I have a cheap rent. There's no scene anymore, but I have a cheap rent and Social Security, so I'm all right, you know.
Yeah, but musically, come on, you've done.
Well, I've done, but I mean, I'm still ready to do.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm looking forward to what can be done. I mean, I'm having a great time listening lately because there's no playing.
Yeah.
And I do a lot of interviews and things, but I do a lot of writing, but what I miss is the hang with the cats.
Yeah.
And the playing every night, and the camaraderie, and the whole social thing too.
Sure.
I don't miss the traveling in the hotels and the airports and and the trains and the lousy food and no sleep. I mean, I don't miss that too much.
Yeah, I know what you mean. But can I ask you one more thing? Like, when was the moment you decided, like home base with Scofield and Harrell, and like, when was the moment you decided to become a band leader? How did this happen for you? Like, you played with everyone until 1980, basically, almost. And
I don't think you decide to become a band leader. I think it's out of necessity that you get an opportunity. I asked in those winter at the Steeplechase. I was making a record with Dave Stryker, and Kenny Werner was on that, and Ronnie Battle, I think, and Larry Schneider. I said, I've always wanted to make a record because, I had been sending tapes to record companies and getting turned down. I mean, you as a leader? And what are you kidding? I had some nice stuff. I even had a record with Scofield, Tom Harrell, Descendants.
Yeah.
And I gave that to some people, and I gave it to the guy at Enja, and he played me the record of some Japanese bass player. He just sounded like I should be more impressed with that than myself. So Niels Winter gave me the opportunity to record. And to this day, 30 years of, it's not the best deal, economically or distribution wise, but I've managed to document the people I played with, because what I do when I record, like the last record, these are the people I've been playing with. It's a band that I put together for like a gig in the park or something. Or I was playing with Kenny Drew Jr. and Sylvia Cuenca when he called me to do a record, and I said, well, gee, that's really felt good. I did it for demo or some singer, and I got Vic Juris and Rich Perry, and we made this record, Inner Account, in 1992, and it was a really nice record, and basically I document the people I'm playing with the music I'm playing at that time.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like a chronology. Yeah. It's not. I didn't really. I don't really want to be a band leader. I don't have that desire to be some of the people I worked with. Which I don't want to be Buddy Rich.
You played with him also, right?
Yeah, I don't want to be like that. I don't have that in me to be what he was. He just tried to make everybody as miserable as possible every night. He had some kind of a Napoleon complex or something. I don't know. He was a great drummer. His hands, but his personality. He pulled a gun on me the night I met him. It was my 22nd birthday. It was the day John F. Kennedy was assassinated. We had Mike and Mike Manieri and I had just driven across to Las Vegas from New York, and we went to Buddy's house, and I was smoking a pipe. And we walked in his house. He pulled a gun out of it, and he pointed it at me. He said, "Put that out. Put that down. Don't you ever walk into my house smoking that again. Now give me that pipe."
Wow.
So he took the pipe from me, and he cleaned it, and he packed it with some really good special blend tobacco. He said, "Now smoke that." That was Hello.
What a deep story, man. That's scary.
That was Hello, and it went downhill from there.
Yeah.
I worked with his big band after that, and we played in Las Vegas. We played from 2 in the morning till 7 in the morning at the Thunderbird Lounge with Sam Most, Squeeze Edison, Micah Benny, Mike Manieri, and myself.
Wow.
We played from 2 in the morning till 7 in the morning. People were having breakfast. We were playing our last set, and we're living in the desert. Try to sleep in the desert during the daytime.
Yeah.
And then he went back with Harry James, and I came back with Micah Benny and joined Maynard Ferguson's band.
Yeah.
It was like 64.
64, yeah. Wow.
So, I've had opportunities to do things that I wish that my students and other young musicians would have a chance to do.
Yeah.
To apprentice people and get to play with people, like even stuff that you really never want to do again, or you wouldn't recommend to your worst enemy. It's good to know the difference. Between working, I worked with Tony Bennett, I worked with Sarah Vaughan and the people like that. Sarah Vaughan was a great singer. She was a little rough to deal with. Tony Bennett was like your best friend,
Yeah.
I had to play this tune one night. We were playing at Boston, and we had one rehearsal. We had like 30 tunes we played. And then all of a sudden at the opening night, he said, "And now, ladies and gentlemen, Ron McClure on bass." And I had to start the next tune, and John Bunch was the piano player and the director, and he went like, okay, I forgot the tempo. And it was like supposed to be like, and I played ding, ding, boom, 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 and everybody's cracking up, everybody's laughing. And Tony sang the tune, and everybody's laughing, and nobody said anything. And afterward, Tony came out and put his arm around my neck. He said, "That was great. Next time, a little faster."
That's beautiful, man.
Like Sarah Vaughan, if I made a mistake, she would like cuss me out in the bandstand over the microphone. I mean, like, "What's wrong with you? Can't you play?" I mean, she not as kind as Tony was. You know?
Yeah.
But I mean, you have to know these things. You have to, you know. I mean, you learn from that tough love. I mean, people like, you know, my buddy was, "What are you doing?" You know, he wouldn't play time on a ballad. We were playing, and I would just, he'd wrap his legs around the stool, and he'd be hitting a cymbal. He started a conversation with somebody in the audience. They didn't want to play ballads. So I would panic, and I'm looking for the time from the drummer, right? And I'm, you know, slowing down or whatever I was doing. And he's, "What are you doing?" He started conducting me in front of like 1,000 people.
Oh my God, man.
And then he said, "You know, you have good time. I don't want to play drums. That's on you. You have to do that." You know. So I mean, a lesson. You know.
Yeah.
It wasn't pleasant, but
Man, that's so bizarre. But
yeah, I mean, I've had. I mean, I remember all this stuff. You know, and part of what I do when I teach is that people want to know the stories.
Yeah.
You know, I've been trying to write a book. I mean, I gave this guy at the SUNY like 59 chapters or whatever.
Yeah, wow.
Gonna look at it. I mean, I've never finished it, and nobody's ever really been able to help me. But and I continue to write. I write all the time.
Here, send me. Let's do it. Well, you know, I mean, you've done so much work. It's so beautiful to hear this stuff, you know, because you've created history, basically jazz history.
Well, I'm part of it. You know, I mean,
you're part of it, actually.
And I got to play with some amazing things. I mean, now these things are coming out. I mean, especially the Wes Montgomery and the Charles Lloyd. I had no idea like what I sounded like or what that music sounded like. I'd never heard it.
Yeah.
And there's more. I just found a Keith Jarrett, Paul Motion tape that I had.
That you played with? Or?
George Clayton recorded. I mean, it's recorded. George Clayton recorded this thing on his equipment at the Vanguard, June 29th, 1967.
With Paul Motion?
Paul Motion and me and Keith Jarrett.
Oh, man.
I played a week with Keith at the Vanguard because he had hired this guy, Kent Carter, who wasn't working out. And I was there because we were playing with Charles Lloyd. And he said, "Can you finish the night and do the rest of the week?" And I said, "Sure." So I did it. And I didn't know George Clayton from a hole in the wall. But he was there and he recorded it. And I have a mono copy of it that I just found.
Wow. How was that like with Paul? I mean, Paul is one of my favorite guys. I mean, how was...
Yeah. Oh, he was my neighbor. I lived next to him on 71st Street. He was playing with Keith. And when Jack quit, I was Paul's neighbor, and he was playing with Keith. I said, "Why don't we get Paul with Charles Lloyd?" So he played the final year of that quartet.
Oh, really?
Jack. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. Wow.
Yeah, he was great. And
he
was a neighbor. Just lived up the street from me, you know, for like since the 70s.
Yeah.
The 60s. Oh, the 60s. 64, he was my next door neighbor.
That's amazing, man.
And so there's a recording. I mean, I'm sure they're negotiating. I'm sure Zev Feldman and George Clayton are negotiating with Keith Jarrett to get permission.
Man, that would be amazing.
I haven't heard it yet. So my friend George Schuler, Gunther Schuler's son, is digitizing that. He's taken that 7.5 reel to reel. I gave it to him this week, as a matter of fact, because I just found it. And he's doing all of Lee Konitz. He's digitizing all of Lee Konitz's a reel to reel, and he organized all of Lee's library. I mean, it's amazing what he had. I mean, the books and their scores, the records, the VC, unbelievable. It's all going to William Patterson University.
Wow.
But he's got this guy that does all this digitizing for him, and he's going to do the Keith Jarrett thing for me, so I can hear it. I mean, I'm not going to do anything with it. I mean,
no, sure.
I have no idea what it sounds like.
Oh, it's
but that could possibly be another 1967 find. That would be three within the last couple of years that came out from 1967. That was a very fertile year. I mean, when you think about it, I mean, it was before it ended, and it was kind of like the peak, you know.
Yeah. It's funny when I look at what you've done, like in the 60s and 70s, you know, we even haven't talked about the Quest and Liebman, you know, if they only knew.
Right.
that record with If They Only Knew, man, this is one of my favorite records with
Oh,
Skull.
really?
And man,
Yeah,
that's like,
Skull. Yeah. No, that's some organic stuff. You know, I mean, we did that in this. I was looking out the window into a pasture, and there was a cow in the window, like while I was playing. You know? I could see this cow looking in the window.
man.
Or
And
like
Adam Nussbaum on drums. You and
Adam, no,
Adam are
he
like
was a
burning.
child then.
Yeah.
He was a kid. He was like a little boy then, you know.
Yeah.
And now he's like, you know, I mean, doing all kinds of things. And
Yeah.
he just moved, and we stay in touch.
I did this talk with him like 2 weeks ago, so it was
Oh,
fun.
really? Yeah. No, he's
such
we
a
always
nice
stay in touch, you know.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's been quite a journey, you know, and you know, I'm just trying to survive now. And I teach, you know, I have NYU this semester was like about a half or less of what I usually do.
Yeah.
But I go there on Friday. I'm the only faculty member. I haven't seen another faculty member in a year.
Well, it goes
And I
down.
see the Dave Pietro, the director, and I see the janitor, and I see my students that come in one at a time, and I have a little ensemble. I was the piano player in my ensemble, and a Russian guy, an Italian guy, and a Chinese guy in my ensemble. I mean, that was like probably the lowest level I've had since I taught at Berkeley in '71.
Oh,
But it's interesting, you know. I mean, and I have a lot of beginners, a lot of electric bass. My title at NYU is Pop Jazz Electric Bass for Non-Majors.
oh man, that doesn't sound promising.
But it attracts, it's like the carrot on the stick. Oh, pop jazz, that sounds good. They have no idea what it is. Do I have to have a bass? Well, how are you going to play the bass if you don't have one?
Oh, man, that's funny.
And I have like guys, I mean, from like 18 to like 38, I mean, that never played bass before. And it's really a challenge to try to get people to, you know, you give them things they can listen to, and you try to get them to actually do something. Most of them don't do anything.
Yeah, sure.
It's a challenge, and it's, you know, and it's a job.
Yeah.
And it keeps me in touch with people and pays the bills.
Yeah. Ron, just one that I mean, we could talk for hours, but I don't want to.
Yes, we could, and I'm willing to if you want to.
Yeah, I just wanted to not to waste too much of your time, but like, you know.
Oh, I have nothing but time.
Cool. Like the two of my favorite records of yours, Tonight Only and McJolt, because of John Abercrombie. And I, you know, I've been such a fan of his, and I wanted to ask you, how did your story with John begin? And, you know, how was he like? How was he like to play with? I mean, he's
John was really unique too. I mean, I knew him and Skull around there, kind of like peers, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, they're totally different personalities. And when I first played with John, I don't know. He used to play with Quest. I mean, we did a week-long workshop in France, and I ended up doing I've heard this Yesterday's Tomorrow on
sure
EMP with John.
Yeah.
I mean,
I know that one. Yeah.
It was supposed to be with his French trumpet player. I sent him all my tunes, and he showed up and opened the envelope in front of me in the session, and he didn't read music. I had to fire him. That was very hard for me.
Oh man,
because he couldn't play my tunes.
Oh shit!
He could play, but he played by ear. The guy was a dentist.
Oh man!
And he hadn't looked at the tunes because he doesn't read music. And we opened it up, and I said, "Well, can you play on the changes?" And then he would just stop in the middle of a chorus. And I said, "Well, this isn't working, man." So John was like saying, "You gonna do something or what?" You know.
So that's why it was a trio with Aldo then.
Yeah, it ended up being a trio. It was supposed to be with Aldo Romano. It was supposed to be it was a French supported label, you know. I had to use two French guys, but it didn't work out. The one they picked the guy that couldn't read music, and it wasn't going to make a record of nonsense, you know.
Oh man!
But I mean, we did that, and they offered me a tour, and I mean, this guy Michel Lecomte offered me a tour. Who was going to pay like $4,000 a week for a month each.
Oh, that's
Johnson, I couldn't leave. Lisa, I couldn't leave my wife alone for a month, you know. It was like $16,000. Man, oh my God, are you kidding? So we didn't do the tour, obviously.
Really? Oh shit, man.
And but I mean, Richie Barak told me how to write for John. He said, you know, just write like try it over a slash bass note. You know, don't write out like C7 flat 9 sharp 13 like augmented 11th. I mean, you know, over B flat, whatever. You know, just give him like triad and a bass note. That's what he's familiar with. 4 notes, right?
Yeah.
Which is probably the most economical way to voice a chord anyway. I mean, that's all you really need. 3rd, 7th, and then whatever, a couple other notes, and you got it. And he was great. It was great hang. I mean, we both used to drink a lot, and I think he stopped. I know I did 28 years ago.
Wow.
And we had some good times. He played with Jack DeShnight's Directions, with Warren Bernhardt and Alex Foster, and for a minute, and after I left Blood, Sweat, and Tears, that didn't work out too well. But no, John. I mean, we did some gigs together with Randy, and actually Randy hired us once, and I think John hired that same band because it just came together. We played Visiones.
Oh yeah.
And I could actually get those guys. The record is called Tonight Only. This is the only night I could get those guys.
Randy,
the only time when Nils Winter was in town that we could have gotten Randy, John, and Adam and myself into the studio.
Yeah.
So Tonight Only, it was that or it wasn't going to happen.
Wow. Yeah, that's a nice record. There's this one tune like you wrote where Randy plays only one note all the time, like repetitive.
The Eye of the Storm.
The Eye of the Storm. I love that tune, man. That's so beautiful.
It was just a little ditty that I wrote when I first started writing. I mean, that tune is probably 50 years old.
Wow. That's so cool.
And I just had some like parallel bass movement, very simple. I mean, it was meant to be this calm, and sometimes less is more. I mean, as Don Spesky was always saying. I mean, I'm writing like simpler tunes because it allows the soloist to bring their personality into it instead of putting them in handcuffs and making them like jump through all your hoops.
Yeah.
So that tune that really worked, and with Randy and John and Adam, I mean, we did everything in one take.
Wow.
Randy said the record was like taking a warm bath. It was so easy. I mean, it was just we did one take. We were done in like 2 or 3 hours.
Wow, that's beautiful.
We just played, and we'd never played the music. We'd never rehearsed. We got together and handed out the music. We played one take, and it was done.
Yeah,
and that doesn't happen often. When you get the right cast, you can do that.
With such players, yeah. I mean, it's.
Well, I mean, that's what I learned from Miles. I mean, you get the right cast, and you allow them to do what they do.
Then it is.
You're probably going to be okay.
Yeah.
It's my band, and we're going to play my tunes, and then you're going to do what I tell you, and I'm going to write the best part for you. I don't want to work with those people.
No, but that's not. Yeah. Like you should just leave it if you have a good guys.
So what's next? What's going to happen in the world? I mean.
We're on a quest. See,
I mean, I don't know. We're supposed to maybe do a quest tour in November, but I don't think so. I don't see it happening.
Yeah.
It would be nice, but I don't think.
But you guys still play? Otherwise, it's still active Quest, like kind of.
Well, I mean, we did this thing this summer. It was supposed to be Quest, but it was with Kenny Werner because Richie's in Germany.
Yeah.
But Richie's not too excited about doing a tour, and Dave is on crutches.
Oh shit!
Because of his hip, and and COVID. I mean, all those factors. I mean, a tour in Europe, flying around. Who's going to come to a club? I mean, I don't think it's going to happen for a while. No. Maybe next year at this time, a year from now, a year and a half from now, maybe.
In a year, maybe fall to 22. Yeah.
22. Yeah, maybe then. If we live that long.
Oh, sure.
I'll be 81. Oh my God.
Man. Well, come on, man. You look good.
First, you have to live. You have to survive.
That's true.
And my daughter's going to be 51 years old this year.
Wow.
I have a daughter that's over half a century old. I have a daughter that's older than the parents of my students. I mean, I have these students that their parents are like 40.
Yeah, sure.
I said, "Who's that young chick?" "That's my mom." Oh yeah, well, she's like 40 years younger than me, so she's a young chick to me. That's your mother. Okay. I mean, when you're getting old when you have like shoes older than your students.
Oh my God.
I learned that from Milt Hinton. We did it in 1990. We did a bass convention at New York University, and he looked around and said, "I've got shoes older than most of you people."
That's probably true, man.
Yeah, I'm sure it was.
Probably true. Yeah. Cool, Ron.
So what is with the Atlanta thing? Your T-shirt, Atlanta basketball. Oh
yeah. It's like I was. I'm a huge basketball fan, and.
Are you really?
Yeah, NBA. And then I went the last time I was in New York, I went to the NBA store, right, to buy some stuff. and you know, everything cost like a hoodie, like I don't know, $70. I was like, damn, man. Then I just took stuff that it's like was for sale, and it's like from female basketball. But I was like, yeah, fuck it. It's like it's beautiful.
Why not? Hey, well, female. I mean, you watch some of the female basketball players now.
Sure.
Like the female, like tennis. I mean,
yeah, sure.
It's not Chrissy Everett, and you know, it's not the girls in high school. I mean, these people, some of these women could play in the NBA. I'm sure.
Yeah, sure. Really good.
I mean, you know, and some of the tennis players, like, you know, I mean, Serena Williams at her best could probably beat most of the guys.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, really. I mean,
it's not lacking anymore.
Somebody was in an elevator one day, and he said it was intimidating. I mean, she's built like Mike Tyson, you know. I mean, and the savvy of the game, and like everything to go with it. I mean, women's sports is like, it's. I watch it. I mean, I've been watching tennis tournament. I got Tennis Channel. I'm a tennis junkie, and I've been watching, you know, like this Barty from Australia. I mean, she's number one in the world now, and I mean, these women play some ball. Let me tell you. And I play tennis, and they're hitting with pace.
Sure.
And their athleticism, you know, I mean, it's gone from like you watch the grass courts with Chris Everett and Martina Navratilova, wooden rackets, and it's a whole other level, you know.
Yeah.
And now it's like, I mean, these people are like trained, and they're and the new equipment and the pace, it's amazing, you know. But music, I don't know. It's gotten better. I mean, we got more technology, and but I mean, that's not ideas. That's not coming from. That's like everybody's got 30 records now. I'm not the only one.
Yeah, it's. I think the idea of a record kind of.
Nobody buys any.
Yeah, but not that. I think like the idea also, you know, in the past when I remember an album came out by I don't know whoever, Joe Henderson, or you know. It was like expecting, you know, like, oh man, like a new record, and you bought it and you put it on, and it was like,
right. Oh, me too. I've go out and buy. I could go to Cutler's record store in New Haven and buy Blue Train for $3.
Yeah, but it was like expectation. You know, it was like a procedure.
Oh yeah, I mean, it was like a big thing when there was a new record, and you could read everything about them on the liner notes on a 12-inch LP. Yeah. Now it's all inside, but you have to buy it first.
And it's even digital. It's less personal. You just skip the tune you don't like. You know, it's like really.
And now we got Spotify and Pandora and all that stuff, and YouTube. Everything's on YouTube.
Yeah.
I mean, I have boxes and boxes of my CDs, and I try to give them to people, and they say, "Well, I don't have a CD player anymore." And besides, I've seen it. It's on Spotify, and it's on YouTube, and it's on Pandora, and it's over here, and it's over there. I mean, I don't need that thing. You know, what is that? I mean, play frisbee with it. You know,
that's bizarre.
But I still make them. They still make them, but they don't. You know, people don't buy them.
No, on concerts, maybe still, you know, my experience on when you're touring, like in Germany, you always sell like 20 CDs on a concert if it's, you know.
I can't do that. I mean, I do concerts here in New York. I mean, I play at Riverside Park for like 500 people, and I make an announcement. I have CDs. Said they're going quick. There's only 10,000 left. You know, please hurry up. And nobody buys it.
Man, yeah.
And I try to give it to somebody, and I said, you know, here's Copland.
Yeah,
I don't have any player.
That's so sad.
No, none of my students. This is their whole.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, there they are. I mean, it's like
bizarre, right?
I mean, it's another world, you know. But we still make CDs. I like to have a book in my hands.
Me too.
I mean, you can have a Kindle, or you can read it online, or you get the New York Times online, you know. But it's nothing like sitting there with a newspaper. I mean, it's
or a book. I still buy books. You know, I still love the weight of a book. Like,
I was like Richie Barrick said, I can't teach online. You know, I need to be able to touch my students. You know, and like I can't stream anything. It's not real. You know.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah.
It's different. I mean, it's even like you know Cuomo, or the governor here, was saying that, or was it De Blasio saying that, you know, doing things on Zoom is not nearly as good as like being in a classroom. They're trying to open the schools. Sure. But that's why I still go to NYU on Fridays. I mean, I get on the train to go there, and I mean, it's antiseptic, it's clean, there's nobody there. So I don't feel threatened, you know.
Sure.
I'm not as afraid as some people are, you know. But I mean, at least I have a few people that I'm in, like about a half a dozen people that I actually see.
But that's nice.
Every week. It means a lot just to go there.
It does. Yeah.
And it means a lot to them too. And like, you know, it's all thank you for coming. It's the only class I have. You're the only teacher I actually see. And we play.
Yeah.
And you know, it's great. I mean, I don't need a lot to keep going, but it's I need something to look forward to.
Yeah.
I need something to look forward to every day where I can, you know, I mean, man is not an island, you know, I can't live alone, you know.
Sure.
That's why I got married. We got married. I mean, I married my teacher here. I mean, it took 40 years, but we finally got married. So, I mean,
thank you,
where
Ron.
do you live, actually?
I live in Slovenia.
In Slovenia.
Yeah. You played here probably many times, right? Probably with
I
Charles.
don't even know where it is.
Like ex-Yugoslavia?
I've been, oh, really? It's like, okay. I thought you were like in Finland, maybe.
No. Well, yeah, Finnish name is Sami, and I'm Samo, so yeah.
You're Slovenian and Finnish.
No. It's like my name.
Are you connected to Finland in any way?
No.
Okay, I was asking Jarno Kukkonen because your name, you know, Salamon. It sounded like it could be like Samo Šalamon or
no.
It sounded like it could have been Finnish, but
my first name is Samo, and the Finns have Sami, so it's kind of similar. Maybe that's why. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, it sounded. I assumed you were Finnish. I did.
No. Like ex-Yugoslavia. You know, I live like 2 hours south of Wien. So.
Oh, really? I mean, I remember going to.
I think you played in Yugoslavia with Charles.
I played in. I remember like. Was it Ljubljana?
Yeah, Ljubljana. That's the capital of Slovenia. That's 1 hour away from me. Yeah.
And a couple other places. I remember, you know, going there with, and we played in Zagreb.
Zagreb, yeah, that's Croatia. Yeah.
I was there with Quest.
Oh yeah,
and
sure.
I was half asleep, and some woman came into my room, and like went through my suitcase, and I was half asleep. And Richie Barry said there was a rat that ran over his foot while he was sitting on the edge of his bed, and it was weird. We played this gig, and it was weird. And I went out, and I didn't know what the numbers are huge for the money. It was like 100,000, whatever they are.
Yeah.
And I went out, and I realized it was like $2. I bought a wardrobe. I mean, you could have a steak dinner for $3 with a bottle of wine.
Sure.
And I mean, and I saw this clothing store, and I still have it. It's this long wool overcoat. Yeah. It was like $3.
Well, yeah, sure.
And I still have this stuff. I mean, I spent about 50. I didn't have any money. I borrowed some money from Billy Hart just before we left town, and I went in there and I went to this clothing store and I bought all this stuff, and it came to like $20.
Yeah.
And it was a wardrobe.
Yeah.
I think that was in Zagreb. It was like,
probably Zagreb, yeah, or Belgrade.
It was, and that's right before like it changed to Slovenia.
That was like early 90s then, like 80 or late 80s.
It was like 89,
80s.
I think.
89, yeah. We got independent in 91, yeah.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's right. So that's where you are.
Yeah.
All the time I thought I was talking to some Finnish guy.
Happens.
No, the name just sounded like.
Sure.
You know, I know it sounded Finnish to me. You know.
Yeah, sure.
What's the difference?
Doesn't matter.
So it's been a pleasure. I mean,
thanks so much, you too, for taking the time.
My pleasure, and good luck, and
hopefully see you around somewhere, Ron.
Yeah, I mean, that's good luck to the rest of the world. I mean, I hope we keep going. You know,
we will. Come on, we survive. Culture survive always.
Yeah, I mean, what there's not the alternative doesn't work. You know.
No.
There's no alternative to life that I know of that works.
Yeah, true.
But we'll find out soon enough.
We will.
Dr. Jazz.